Hi there, I'm Mara. My sister smirked and said, "We took a vote. You're not coming to the family gathering." And just like that, I was cut off. No invite, no real reason, just silence where I used to belong. The worst part? I had paid for everything. $10,000. Gone. But that wasn't the beginning of it. It was just the moment I finally started seeing clearly. It turned out they'd been reshaping the story of me for years, quietly, behind my back, in emails, in conversations, even right to my face. They drained my accounts, forged my signature, told people I was unstable. And I started to wonder, was I ever really the problem, or had I just stopped letting them use me? I should have noticed sooner. The second I walked through that door, something felt wrong. My mother's smile was too tight, my father's glass of wine already too full, and my sister, Deline, was stretched across the couch like she owned the room, waiting for applause that hadn't even started yet. Clyde barely glanced up from his phone. No one said a word about the gift basket in my hands. No one acknowledged the 2-hour drive I had just made from Flagstaff. "Sit down," Deline said, her lips curling into that familiar smirk. "We need to talk." I hadn't even taken off my coat yet. The group chat had said family dinner at 6 sharp. Nothing about an intervention. "What's going on?" I asked, placing the basket down carefully. "Did someone die?" My father set his glass down with a little too much intention. "We had a vote," he said. Deline's grin widened. "You're out of the family trip." I blinked, trying to process it. "What are you talking about?" "You're not coming to Sedona next month," she said casually. "We all agreed it's better this way." My mother added softly, still avoiding my eyes. "It's about the group dynamic, Mara. You bring tension. Last year, you embarrassed us, yelling at that waitress over the tip." "They charged us double," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "You're welcome for noticing." "We just want peace," she said gently, as if I were the one creating chaos. I looked around the room at the same people I had booked flights for, paid deposits for, rearranged my entire life for. "Let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You're removing me from a trip I planned and paid for." "You offered," my father shrugged. "I didn't offer to be excluded." Deline crossed her legs, sitting there like she was presiding over some staged courtroom drama. "You've changed," she said. "All these boundaries, budgets, rules. It's exhausting." A hollow laugh slipped out of me. "You mean I stopped letting you spend my money without limits?" She waved her hand dismissively. "You're being dramatic." That's when I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" my mother asked sharply. "Ending this," I replied, scrolling calmly. "Check your phones in a minute." Deline's phone buzzed first, then my father's. Her expression shifted instantly. "What did you do?" "I canceled the travel card," I said. "The one linked to all your tickets, the hotel bookings, and that villa with the infinity pool you couldn't stop talking about." "You can't do that," she snapped. I looked straight at her. I already did. Clyde finally looked up, blinking like he had just woken up. "But the trip is in 3 weeks. "Then you better start figuring it out," I said. "You're all about manifesting abundance, right?" My mother's voice cracked slightly. "Don't make this ugly, Mara." I let out a slow breath. "It already is." I picked up my keys and walked out, leaving them sitting there in shock, their perfect vacation unraveling right in front of them. When I got home, the silence hit me immediately. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that presses in on you, tight and suffocating. I dropped my keys and went straight to my desk without even taking off my shoes. I opened my laptop and logged into the joint account I had used for the trip. I wasn't trying to punish myself. I just needed to see it, needed confirmation. And there it was, a charge I didn't recognize. $3,000 pulled from the college fund, the one I had started for Deline's daughter back when she still called me her favorite aunt. The description read, "Wellness Experience, Sedona, Arizona." I stared at the screen, my hands frozen. She had taken her own daughter's future and turned it into a luxury spa trip, and she had done it under my name. I should have seen it earlier, but somehow that wasn't even the worst part. I decided to handle something I had been putting off, my car registration. I entered my details, waited for the system to load, and then it appeared. Co-owner, Lorene Bittner, my mother. My throat tightened instantly. I remembered the day she offered to help, saying her credit would make things easier, faster. I trusted her. For years, I thought that car was mine. It never was. I closed the laptop slowly, as if doing it too fast would somehow make everything worse. Then I just sat there, staring at nothing, while memories lined up one after another. Every time she said she was helping me, every time she told me I needed her, every time Deline called me too rigid right after draining my account. It wasn't care, it was control. They didn't want me on that trip because I had started saying no, because I had stopped being easy. They hadn't just removed me from Sedona, they had been removing me from my own life, piece by piece, for years. I barely slept that weekend. The silence in my apartment felt heavy, accusing. Saturday passed in a blur. I cleaned things that were already clean, reread messages that didn't matter. By Sunday evening, I thought maybe the worst had passed. I was wrong. The notification came right after dinner. A message from Aunt Vera. "You need to see this." I opened it without thinking. It was a forwarded email, sent by my mother, to every relative who still shared our last name. The subject line said, "Regarding Mara." My stomach dropped. It wasn't just a rant, it was calculated. Mara has been struggling emotionally for years. We've tried to support her, but she clearly needs space and professional help. We love her, but sometimes love means distance. There was more. Suggestions that I had abandoned the family. Claims that I was unstable. She even attached an old private message I had sent during a breakdown years ago, stripped of context, turned into evidence. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. This wasn't just betrayal, it was erasure. She wasn't acting out of emotion, she was being strategic. They weren't just pushing me away, they were rewriting who I was. I stood by the window, staring out at the streetlights, trying to steady myself, but memories kept surfacing. 15 years old, crying over a failed test, and her voice telling me I was too dramatic. 22, opening up about anxiety and being told not to embarrass the family. 31, asking for a weekend alone, and Daleen calling me selfish in front of everyone. They hadn't just labeled me unstable, they had taught everyone else to see me that way too. My phone rang. It was Vera again. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I never believed everything, but after seeing that, you don't deserve this." I swallowed hard. She continued, "They're not going to stop. Once people like that control the narrative, they hold on to it, unless someone challenges it." I looked back at my laptop screen, still glowing. "Then it's time I tell my side," I said quietly. I didn't even get the chance to close the laptop before my phone buzzed again. The family group chat. "Dinner tonight, family only, 7 sharp." No explanation, just that. I stared at the message, then checked the time it was sent. 2 minutes after Vera's call ended. Not a coincidence. Another message followed, this one from Clyde. "I'm going, be ready." Ready for what? Another setup disguised as a family meal? I sat in my car outside their house for 5 full minutes before stepping out. My hands were steady, but my thoughts weren't. I had practiced what I would say the entire drive. I knew my limits now, or at least I thought I did. Inside, everything looked staged. The table was set perfectly, like something out of a magazine. Daleen was already seated, wine in hand, wearing that same polished smile she used when pretending to care. I took the only empty seat without saying a word. Dinner started quietly, polite smiles, forced laughter. Then Daleen set her fork down. "We're glad you came," she said sweetly, "but we're worried about you." I raised an eyebrow. "About what?" "Your obsession with money," she said, taking a sip of wine, "it's not healthy." My mother nodded, her expression full of fake concern. "Sometimes control issues hide deeper problems. You don't have to carry everything alone." I blinked. "Are you diagnosing me at the dinner table?" Daleen leaned forward slightly. "Maybe it's time you talk to someone, a professional." There it was, the script. Public concern wrapped around quiet humiliation. I looked around. A few cousins nodded, avoiding eye contact. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen lightly. "If I'm so unstable," I said calmly, "maybe you should stop using my streaming accounts." Daleen froze. "Funny how your Netflix profile was active last night," I added, "watching that series you love, the one with all the drama." A couple of people laughed under their breath. Someone nearly choked on their drink. Daleen's face flushed. "That's not the point." "It is to me," I said evenly, "because every time I set a boundary, you call me difficult, but you never have a problem using what's mine." The room went quiet. "You think this is about television?" she snapped. I stood up slowly. "No," I said. "I think this is about patterns, and I'm done pretending I don't see them." After I walked out of that dinner, I drove home in silence. No music, no calls, just the low hum of tires on asphalt and the sound of my thoughts rearranging themselves. I got home a little after 10. I showered, made tea, and slipped into bed, thinking maybe, just maybe, that mess was behind me. It wasn't. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. A text from Isla, one of my coworkers. She never messaged this late. Her text was short. "Hey, is this real?" Attached was a link. I clicked. It was a GoFundMe campaign titled "Healing After Family Trauma. Help Daleen Start Fresh." Created by Lorraine Bittner, my mother. The description, a carefully crafted fiction. After years of emotional abuse and financial abandonment by her sister, Mara Daleen is rebuilding her life. Every dollar helps her recover from the pain. I sat up slowly, staring at the screen like it might vanish if I blinked hard enough. Hundreds of dollars already raised, donations from people I hadn't spoken to since high school. Comments like, "We love you, Daleen, stay strong. Marlo was always cold, this confirms it." I didn't cry. I laughed, that sharp, bitter kind of laugh that scrapes your throat on the way out. They didn't just go public, they went viral. My fingers moved on instinct. I took screenshots, every line, every lie. I saved the donation list, the timestamps, the share counts. Then I opened my email. Subject, cease and desist. To Lorraine Bittner. Body, take the fundraiser down within 24 hours. I have full documentation, screenshots, transaction logs, your account activity. Next move is mine, and it won't be private. I hit send, leaned back, and let the silence settle. I tried boundaries. I tried grace. Now I was done trying. By sunrise, the air outside still clung to desert chill, but my skin felt flushed from everything boiling underneath. I opened the front door to grab the mail, expecting junk flyers and overdue coupons. What I got was a thick manila envelope with no return address, only the crisp, sterile stamp of a law firm. I tore it open in my kitchen. Inside, a formal letter from a firm representing Lorraine and Daleen. The words were ridiculous enough to read like satire. Unjust disruption of travel arrangements, financial harm, emotional distress. They were suing me, or at least threatening to, demanding reimbursement for non-refundable bookings and loss of emotional well-being caused by an unprovoked financial severance. I actually laughed out loud, alone in my apartment. But then I did what I always do when I'm cornered. I sat down and opened my bank app. Something told me this wasn't the end of it, and I was right. There it was, an $8,000 loan processed under my name. I hadn't applied for any credit increase or personal line in years. I clicked through the transaction log. Date of application, 2 weeks ago. Signature, mine, digitally forged. IP address, not mine. Scottsdale, Daleen's apartment complex. She didn't just use me, she impersonated me. This wasn't pettiness anymore. This was a felony. By 9 a.m., I was seated in a leather chair across from a real attorney, someone who didn't care about family drama, only facts and fraud. I laid it all out, the GoFundMe lies, the lawsuit threat, and now the forged loan. She flipped through the printouts, calm as stone. Then she said, "This isn't just unethical, it's criminal." And just like that, the narrative flipped. Not the black sheep, not the overreacting sister, not the emotional daughter. I was a plaintiff with evidence. As I left the office, I pulled out my phone and typed a message. To Deline. Message. You should check your notifications. They won't be from Instagram this time. Friday came like the calm before a thunderstorm, the kind of quiet where even the wind seemed to hesitate. At exactly 6:30, I pulled up to my parents' house. Again. This time, not as a daughter, not as a guest. I was here to present evidence. The message had said, family dinner, one last chance to settle this civilly. But judging by the pristine table setup and the neutral party seated next to my mother, Dad's old friend Alan, a retired lawyer, I knew it wasn't dinner, it was theater. Lorraine greeted me with a sugar-coated smile, as if none of this had happened. We're just here to clear the air, sweetheart. Deline barely looked up from her laptop, fingers flying over the keyboard. Clyde sat stiffly at the far end, eyes glued to his water glass. I didn't sit. Instead, I calmly placed my iPad on the sideboard and connected it to the living room TV. No one spoke as the first slide appeared, a screenshot of the GoFundMe dashboard. Then IP address logs, Lorraine's router linked to the fundraiser setup, then my bank's login activity, timestamped to Deline's address. Finally, a security clip from the resort I booked for Tuscany showing Deline checking in, handing over a card with my name. I turned to face them. You lied, you used me, and then you tried to erase me. Lorraine opened her mouth, but Clyde stood up first. She's not wrong, he said. I knew about the cards, the fundraiser, all of it. Silence. She told me if I said anything, I'd be written out of the will. I looked at him, not with anger, but understanding. And now I know who you are. Deline slammed her laptop shut. You ungrateful freak. Is this what you wanted? To humiliate us? I didn't flinch.
No, I wanted peace. But you don't leave people like me in peace. So I chose justice. Saturday morning, I woke up before the sun. The house was quiet, but my mind wasn't. The weight of everything, the dinner, the confessions, the betrayal, sat on my chest like a stone. I made coffee, not out of habit, but ceremony. Today was the day I burned the bridge, not out of anger, but to make sure no one else could cross it back to me. I started with the practical, called the bank, filed the final fraud report. The woman on the other end said, "I'm so sorry this happened to you." I almost cried just hearing a stranger believe me. Then I called the travel agency, told them to remove any and all family-linked profiles from the master account. Then came the rest: insurance, streaming, vehicle registration. Everything they touched, I cut off. Clyde got one text from me, just one line. I wish you'd chosen better. Don't contact me again. I stared at the screen for a moment, then hit send. By mid-morning, I was loading boxes into my trunk. Photo albums, legal documents, keepsakes, things that mattered. Everything else could stay behind. I drove across town to a small real estate office and signed a lease for a one-bedroom unit in Flagstaff. The rent was higher than I wanted, the walls were beige, and the view overlooked a parking lot. But the keys were mine, just mine. As I pulled into a storage unit lot later that afternoon, I opened the family group chat one last time, scrolled past months of emojis, guilt trips, sarcastic digs. Then I hit leave conversation. I smiled, not out of revenge, out of relief. That evening, as I unpacked kitchen utensils in my new space, an email pinged. Lorraine. Subject: let's not end this like strangers. The message was short, manipulative in its warmth. Please don't let this destroy everything. You know we love you. Attached was a scan of a personal check, $10,000. I stared at it, then printed it out, flipped it over, signed the back in bold black ink, void, and below that I wrote, "You don't buy forgiveness, you earn it." I mailed it back first thing the next morning. The envelope slid from my fingers into the mailbox with a soft thud, and with it the last thread tying me to them. 3 weeks passed, quietly, purposefully. Each morning, sunlight stretched across the wood floors of my apartment like it belonged there. I brewed my own coffee. No family text threads, no guilt-drenched emojis, just the hiss of the kettle and the scent of something finally mine. I donated the heavy things first, the oak mirror from Mom's house, the over-embroidered quilt that somehow always smelled like someone else's control. Then the smaller ghosts followed, framed photos, greeting cards signed, "Love Mom," with conditions tucked between the lines. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clearing space. News traveled, not through me, but through the same whispers they once used to shrink me. Delene's brand collaboration tanked after someone tipped off the sponsor. Brian cut her off. Some said he didn't like being linked to fraud allegations. Aunts stopped attending Lorraine's brunches. One even unfollowed her on Facebook. Small things, but they stacked up like truth finally finding its footing. Clyde emailed me a week ago. It was long, remorseful, filled with confessions and regret. "You were right," he wrote. "I was afraid. I let them scare me into silence, and I hurt you for it." I didn't reply. Not out of spite, I just didn't owe him a reply. Last Thursday, I stopped by a local bookstore cafe to grab a journal. As I waited for my order, a woman approached me, a baby balanced on her hip. "Excuse me," she said, "are you Mara Shipman?" I nodded, uncertain. "My sister. You helped her once, years ago, with rent. She told me about you, about what you've done lately. She said you taught her what boundaries look like." The baby giggled. I smiled back, throat tight. I walked home with the journal unopened. That night, I sat on my couch, wrote my name on the first page, and took a deep breath. I wasn't their ATM. I wasn't their scapegoat. I wasn't their secret. I was free. And if you're still here with me listening, thank you. I didn't tell this story for pity. I told it because someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe you've spent years carrying the weight of keeping the peace. Maybe you've mistaken silence for strength. I did too. But here's what I've learned. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors you choose to close when what's on the other side keeps setting your life on fire. You don't owe anyone access to your peace just because they share your last name. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect, choice, and truth. And healing doesn't always come with hugs and reconciliation. Sometimes it looks like a one-bedroom apartment, a full cup of coffee, and the courage to say no more. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from people who were supposed to love you? Do you believe family ties should always be honored no matter what, or do you believe in starting your own rules of family? Let me know in the comments if this video spoke to you, if it hit something real. Drop a 1 in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. And hey, if you didn't like this story, I still want to hear from you. Tell me why and tell me where in the world you found this video. And if you want to hear more stories that go beyond the surface, ones that hit the heart, challenge your thinking, and maybe even change your life, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.